Well, hello. Welcome once again to another Raven, Louis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Louis Bright Raven. And with me right away, I'm my co-host, John Morris in the Scarlet Sumo.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Now, you really can't call yourself the Scarlet Sumo if you're not going to wear red.
Well, my face is red, so,
Okay. I don't know. I'm going to be polite and not give you a different nickname tonight. It just wouldn't be very polite.
That's okay. I've heard them all.
Yeah. Where is it? Oh, I thought our fourth was going to be here, but he decided to go over and sit somewhere else. Our fourth, of course, being the mascot. But
the Midnight Monster.
Yes. So it is Thursday night. It is time for comics reviews. And we got a few questions first, though. So let's go ahead and go to the questions. Well, Chris, you read it.
It says, hey, Raven and Chris, are you two going to do a comic series together in the future? Maybe that spacey character. We never see enough art from you. From Miguel Esser in Illinois.
Yeah. Well, we're not sure. We'd like to do some work together. I don't know if it's going to be spacey or not.
We've definitely discussed it.
Yeah. It's just a matter of having the right money and time to do it more than anything else. But we want to. It's just, getting the right set of circumstances. Okay.
So
Next.
Down the road, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Now, midnight, there's nobody in there. Wants to go in my bedroom. The door is shut. I want to go in. Our next question from multiple parties. Go ahead and read it, John.
If you won the lottery, would you go buy Diamond Distributions and fix the problems of the industry on that front, or would you take another approach?
We've discussed this a couple months ago, actually, before when it was just being rumored that Diamond was going to be on the chopping block, shall we say. No, I would not go by them specifically. If I was going to try and fix the industry on the distribution and I want to get my own, what do you want to call it, a cold start group or whatever, and screw you, Dennis Barger. It's not about, no one can hold Diamond's jockstrap from a cold start. No, we could. I just go get Milton Greep, who ran Capital, and a few other people who know what the hell they're doing. We can do it. It's just whether or not you retailers want to support it. But we have to have the right resources to do it first.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Is it's smarter just Diamond has too much baggage. Just start fresh.
Yeah, as far as that side of it goes. But if we won the lottery, I'm not even sure distribution side is what I'd even want to tackle, per se. We probably would have no choice. We'd have to do something. But I'm tired of handling the business end of this. I want to do creative.
Right.
More.
Right. Yeah.
And this is a conversation I was having with Chris and David just the other night as well. So everybody wants me to do the business.
Or we'd be sitting on a beach, and we're like, looking good, Lewis. Looking good, Chris and John.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but that's kind of what we'd be doing with that. Our next question is, can we see more past or current works that Chris, Raven, and or John have done or are currently working on from multiple parties? And yeah, I know when I started season 5, I said I was going to get into that, and we just haven't. So yes, we're going to have to address that more. I don't know what John can share because John doesn't do.
Well, I will say if you're looking for visuals from me, you won't find them because I'm a musician. If you go on my Facebook page, I have occasionally posted videos of me playing both my piano and I also play viola. So you can go on my Facebook page and find videos of me there.
And you might have some video footage from people who have recorded you for different plays that you directed, or as musical director or something. You might have snippets of those as well. So
a little bit,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, you get to hear John's develop. I mean, you get to hear part of it. We're going to have to see if we can do something about the sound quality on the video. That's another thing you and I got to talk about after the show, Chris. I think it has to do with something that StreamYard does, that if I do it a different way, we can get the sound right for once.
Right. Yeah, I think it is StreamYard. And as far as, I could do a live color, but I'd have to figure out how to share my screen. So
yeah,
I have screen sharing stuff, but I have to figure out how to get it to my phone and blah, 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 all that stuff. So, but
yeah, or I just need to buy you a Logicam.
Yes, I need to buy a webcam.
Yeah, that's what we forgot to get him the other day. We didn't go to Best Buy and buy him a webcam. No, that's a little bit pricey for that. But anyway.
That is, yes.
But anyway, yeah, those are pretty much our questions. But we're going to get to that again, and we are going to show more of our past works. I know people want to see the stuff I did when I was running Kappa Co-op and other things. So I have to try and dig that out of the archives. For those who don't know, for the past year and a half, I've had basically all my books that I'm buying in stacks on floor, all my graphic novels and hardcovers and stuff. And I just got 2 bookcases to put all that on. So I'm finally getting where I can walk around and just in the main space. I haven't even got to the back area where all the cool stuff is from the past. So when I get back there, we'll start digging that out and start sharing it. So
and it's looking good.
If you have questions, email me at quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com. Subject Q&A, and we'll see what we can do. All righty then. Let's see what kind of comics we're talking about tonight. We got 8 books we're reviewing. Let's start with John and his selection.
All right. This is Disney's Ducktales. This is the first 3 issues. Publisher Dynamite Entertainment. Writer Brandon Montclair. Artist Tommaso Ronda. Pencils and inks and colors for issues 1 and 3, with Agnes Eterno doing colors on issue 2. Lettering Fabio Amelia. Cover artist Ivan Bigarella. And of course, like all other Dynamites, there's a lot of variant covers as well. But Ivan Bigarella is the main cover artist. Editor Nate Cosby. Genre adventure. Release date November 2024 to present. This is an ongoing series. Rating all ages. What it's about. The ridiculously wealthy Scrooge McDuck is the most famous resident of Duckburg, but his fortune goes far beyond mere currency. To his young nephews, Uncle Scrooge is rich in something even more important than money, stories. Whether it's the saga of how he dug his first million out of the Klondike, or the many times he saved his lucky number one dime from the clutches of Magica Dispel, the feisty tycoon is a font of mesmerizing tales, and Huey, Dewey, and Louie can't get enough. But even as they pester their uncle to share more yarns of his legendary quests and globe-trotting treasure hunts, the three boys are about to learn that the most valuable item Scrooge McDuck owns isn't locked up in his absurdly capacious money bin. It's the lifetime of wisdom he's got stockpiled inside his head. Writer Brandon Montclair of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur and Rocket Girl and artist Tommaso Ronda of Kalia uncover a vein of solid gold adventures with Ducktales #1, burnished by billion-dollar covers from Ivan Bigarella, Francesco Tomaselli, Carlo Lauro, and Alan Quoth. So for me, for the first 12 years of my life, I only knew of Scrooge McDuck thanks to 1983's Mickey's Christmas Carol, which we've discussed on the show before, and the 1967 Scrooge McDuck and Money. And I should pause right now because I forgot to do the obligatory woo. There you go. However, I was clueless about his history in comics. I had no idea who Carl Barks was, or that he had created Scrooge in 1947, intending him to be a one-off character, but whose popularity ensured that he would stick around. Then, of course, along came the original Ducktales series in 1987, which proved so popular that it aired in syndication until 1990, and spawned a feature film in 1990, DuckTales the Movie Treasure of the Lost Lamp, which is cool, and a reboot series that aired from 2017 to 2021. So the original series was where I started to get to know Uncle Scrooge, and which eventually led to my discovering Carl Barks. I wasn't really a fan of the visual style of the reboot. So when I started reading this new series, I was very pleased to find that not only do Montclair and Rhonda keep with the style of the original show, I feel like they also channeled Carl Barks as well. So the story revolves around Scrooge taking his nephews on an adventurous tour of Duckburg, interspersed with flashbacks from his past, and each flashback is rendered to evoke the comics of the 1940s and 50s, even to look like how they would have been printed in the 40s and 50s. And even Bigarella's cover art reminds me of Barks's oil paintings of the Duckburg gang, which, if you haven't seen, Google Carl Barks oil paintings because those things are beautiful. All in all, this is shaping up to be a fun series that stays true to the spirit of the original show and of Carl Barks himself, in my opinion.
Okay, what did I think? I agree with you that the Bigarella covers are at least a fair homage to Carl Barks. Not quite on the level of Barks, but let's be honest, very few people on this earth can equal Barks in any way, shape, or form. But certainly respectable enough. Unfortunately for me, that's pretty much where my affection for the book stops. Now, that's not to say that these books aren't well executed or that the creative team isn't trying to evoke the spirit of Barks in their efforts. I think they are. I think it's a very valid perception on your part, John. It just doesn't measure up to classic Barks material for me personally. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That being said, I do think the book is appealing enough on its own merits. Again, I do like the covers. The covers really do have a kind of classic feel towards the Barks traditional. I'm just not. When I look at the interiors, I'm just not quite feeling it. You gave it a 5-star, John. I gave it a 3.5. Chris, did you get a chance to look at these?
I did not, but if I remember correctly, I kind of a question. Like the original Scrooge McDuck from Barks, he was originally kind of a villain, wasn't he? Almost.
I don't know if villain's a good word, but an antagonist, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was even more, greedy and like stingy and just always trying to like, pick a bum's pocket for a penny and take.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and that, yeah, okay. It's hard for me to really get into that because it's been a long time since I really was into Barks. I wish we had Stoney on the show for that. You don't know who Stoney is, but John remembers Stoney from CBR. That was our duck guru who really knows Barks and the history of that character. But I would say he was more of a presented kind of like in the way of, Scrooge McDuck with the Scrooge from the classic Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Okay.
And then again, it's supposed to be like a one-off. He proved to be popular, and then they had to give that backstory of how he became everything. And I was like, well, if Donald's his uncle or Donald's his nephew rather, and everything, how does this all work? And that's
right.
He became more of a lovable
miser.
Yeah, a lovable miser. That's a good phrasing. So yeah. So okay, let's take a look at some of that interior art.
Now I'm gonna have that tune going through my head for like 2 days.
It's an absolute earworm. But it's also classic.
Might find a mystery or rewrite history. Ducktales. Woo-hoo.
What do you think of the art there, Chris?
I think it's pretty good. Like I said, it's not, of course, and probably perfunctory, because it needed to be a little more
modern,
sparse. That it's not as good as the cover art, but it's still really good. So.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure they're cranking these out like crazy.
Yeah. That's how my left ear feels like right now. Can I please get the damn money out of my head?
Oh God! If only you could do that and shake out money, right?
Yes. Oh my
shake
God.
out gold coins.
Yes, yeah. I wish. For those who don't know, I'm dealing with an ear infection right now, and that's why you guys see me messing with my ear the last few videos. And I finally got some medicine, but I can't take it until the morning.
Joey agrees with you, Lewis.
Yeah. But like I said, an antagonist does not necessarily mean a villain. It just means an opposing individual.
Right.
And then here's
now this is like this is actually a double splash page. This is like one of my favorite 2 pages in the whole series so far, where they're and I thought, Chris, you'd get a kick out of this, where they're watching a horror movie with 2 Dracula and Frankenstein-esque monsters.
Right. Duckula. Yeah, that's good stuff. I love it.
Yeah, and they do a good job of keeping them in shadow, but yet, color enough that you can see there's, which one's supposed to be which and stuff. I'm a little bit, I know they're all supposed to be shaking and shivering because they're scared, supposedly. Am I the only one? Which one is which? I can't remember which one's red.
So red is Huey, blue is Dewey, and green is Louie.
Okay. I had Louie right anyway. I just couldn't remember which one was Huey and Dewey. Well, Huey in the red, does it not look like the shaking back behind his back of his head looks like a propeller on the cap?
He does have a propeller on his head, doesn't he?
No.
Oh, I thought he did.
That's just them. That's just the shaking, that they're afraid lines.
Right.
But anyway, whoop. Stop it. Silly thing. I think that's all of our. Nope, there's one more. And this is what John was talking about for making them look like the older version of the cartoon
right.
comics.
And you're absolutely right, Joey. Dynamite is very addicted to multiple covers.
Yeah. Well, they could. If they got rid of the multiple covers, they could release everything twice a month, not just DuckTales.
Right.
But yeah, it was just ridiculous. But unfortunately, we have to admit that like 80% of their sales are those covers.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, what can you do if that's what the retailers order? That's what they got to do, I guess. But it's not what I would do if I was running a company, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. But I was trying to figure out though, you see the multicolored jewels, I guess. And it's like, okay, you see it in the second panel, but you don't see it on the table in the third panel. And then you see it again, it's like, where did it go? Why isn't it drawn on the Scrooge side? It's on it's on Grimgold's, but it's not on there on the other. Whoop. I hate when it does that. And then when it gets to the bottom one where he's leaping across the panel, there's none of it on either side.
That's a good question.
So it wasn't the best art in that sort of thing, but for a one-page thing, it's all right. That's why I got a 3.5 instead of a 5 from me. Is that kind of stuff.
Continuity errors.
Yep. Okay. Our next book is Dragon Garage, James Turner's Dragon Garage, trade paperback from 1995 from SLG at Slate Labor Graphics Publishing. Creator is James Turner, editor Jeff Bombas, and that is JEF, not two Fs. Genre fantasy comedy, released October 2023. What it's about. Zach Vandermeer is a playful misfit whose imagination can get him and his friends into trouble, but never in his wildest dreams did he think his imagination could open a portal to a different reality. Playing his favorite game, Heroic Journey, he introduces a new character into the game, one that launches him and his friends into a real-world adventure in the fantasy realm of Arthea, which, until that night, had simply been a fictional world that Zach had made up. Can he and his friends find their way back to our reality? Will they even want to? What did I think of this? Well, this is certainly not the first comic when normal teens get transported into a medieval fantasy world and have to fight to survive. It is, however, a more fanciful and imaginative version in that Zach and friends have a means to Mad Max it and throw in things like the speed buggy style dune buggy there that we see on the cover. Most of it's more like the D&D cartoon that Marvel Productions and TSR produced in the 80s on CBS. Or it's stuff like The Realm that Caliber produced in the late 80s and early 90s. So in this book, Turner is really exploring his art style. If you're familiar with James Turner's other earlier works, this is a real breakaway from that. He steps well out of his comfort zone that we saw for years in his Rex Libris series, the super librarian. so to speak. The figures are rougher designs. Inks are more loose and heavier in thickness and have more uh, diversity of line weight. And it feels much more organic compared to the very geometrically designed Rex Libris work. Story-wise, there's a lot of heavy, dark stuff going on in Zach's life that makes him want to escape to this other realm. His mother is sick and dying, probably cancer, but it's never actually stated what her illness is. His boss stole the credit for his research and then booted him off the expedition and sent him back to the States from overseas. And so he's not getting any money or credit for the work that he discovered. This other guy took it all. And there's other problems as well for finances and taking care of family and stuff. So we can understand why he wants to lose himself in the game. But I don't want to offer any other spoilers other than that. Now, some of my peers elsewhere who have read and reviewed this seem to think it's not as good as Rex Libris is. I tend to disagree. It's just as good. It's just not what they were expecting, given Turner's earlier style. And so they're not getting what they expect, and so they give it a little lesser score or they whine. But it's a perfectly solid book that any Turner fan should make an effort to acquire, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And then this is the actual book, and it's black and white, but he's overseas. He's already been kicked off the expedition team. He has this idol that he's buying that has this glyphs on the bottom, and it's that idol that actually gives them the ability to go into the other realm later in the story. And then you got this, very rough brush work that you can see with the shadows and stuff here. Whereas if you have a Lex Libris, everything is very, very hard edges, straight, things like that. So, whereas these are very unique and individual characterizations, and this is his gaming group.
Cool.
So, very quick read. I got through I think it's 170, 180 pages in under an hour. So, just a really cool thing. And it's just enough storyline at the end that there's a possibility for a sequel as well. So, cool stuff. Okay. Our next book. It is now Chris's turn.
All right. This is called The Digital Disciple. CARLO, ACUTIS, and the Eucharist. The publisher is Augustine Institute and Voyage Comics from 2022. The writer is Philip Kozlowski, artist Bruno Abdias, colors by J. David Ramos, and the editor was the one and only David Campini. Genre is religious biographical. Was released in November 30th, 2022. So what this is about is Carlos is a young Catholic boy, loves going to Mass, loves his studies, loves playing video games with his friends. His friends, much to the dismay of Carlos, do not like going to Mass and think it's boring. Carlos decides then and there to come up with a way to help his friends and all young people appreciate Mass more, and does so by working day and night over the course of years and an incurable disease to come up with a computer program that would not only be fun, but a learning tool as well. Telling the real-life story of Carlo ACUTIS, who at 15 years old created a dynamic website and stunning display that taught others about the many remarkable Eucharist miracles around the world. Keen to transmit the faith to a younger generation, ACUTIS applied himself to creating a website dedicated to cataloging each reported Eucharist miracle in the world and maintaining a list of the approved Marian apparitions of the Catholic Church. He appreciated Giacomo Alberoni's initiatives to use the media to evangelize and proclaim the gospel, aiming to do likewise with his own website. ACUTIS launched the website in 2004, worked on it for 2.5 years, involving his entire family in the project. It was unveiled on 4 October of 2026, the feast of St. Francis, only days before his death from leukemia. So yeah, my wife brought this home from the thrift store she works at, along with a stack of other comics. And as I was leafing through, came across the credits, and none other than longtime agent, friend, and all-around comics guru David Campiti had edited this book. So I decided to review it. This is a religious bio comic put out by a religious publisher specifically for the Italian Catholic market as a tool to teach about important figures within the religion. It's not my cup of tea, but it was and not really well written. It's very proselytizing, but it was very well illustrated. And if your interests lie within Catholic saint biographies, then this might be for you.
Now, I haven't been able to get a copy to read the whole thing. I only read like maybe a third of it online. But what I did read was exceptionally well executed for the type of book it's meant to be. Now, yes, like Chris says, it's proselytizing and stuff, but that's what it's supposed to be.
Right. Yeah, that's what this was specifically designed for. Yeah.
Yeah. So I find the story of the individual really inspirational, what he tried to do and what he accomplished at such a young age for what it's worth. So I think that, it was a good book for what it is supposed to be for. You go on website, Voyager Comics, it's $6.99 a book, and they give you like 20% off if you buy bulk or whatever. But they usually target these type of books for churches and for religious camps and other things like that. And it's not necessarily specifically for the Italian Catholic market from what I could see, but that's probably the most niche part of it anyway. So, it was okay. Chris gave it a 2.5 stars, and I gave it a 3.5. And John, since you didn't get to see this book,
no, I looked for it. It wasn't on like Read Comic Online or anything like that. So.
Yeah. But based on just the concept, since you are presumably, you're the one that goes to church most out of all of us, everything. You're the more religious person. Would this be a book that you would have been normally interested in?
Yeah, I think so. And not that this makes a huge difference. I'm not Catholic. I'm Baptist, but yeah, I think I would be interested in that.
Okay. Well, see, I think that's a point I was trying to make. It's even though it is kind of geared towards the Italian Catholic forums and stuff like that, you're not that, and yet you're still interested. So I say, like I was saying, it's for the overall churches and everybody, I think, as well. So.
Yeah, and again, the artwork.
Well, I'm going to show the art in just a minute, Chris.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had.
And like an individual, wanting to spread the gospel is certainly something I can get behind.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and show some of the art. This is like some of the earlier stuff. He's trying to get people to be interested during an after school or after mass event where he's talking with the other students about this, and they're all bored. Basically,
you just want to go home and play video games.
Yeah. And he's like, what can I do to make them understand what this is about? And his priest is telling him, I've struggled with that question myself. And so he does, a little bit about that. And that makes him go home with his mom and go online to look for some of this stuff that the priest was talking about. And that's when he discovers, wow, all this stuff is cool. We need to get all this stuff a line and share it with everybody online and make them see it.
Right.
Maybe they'd be interested. And there is a lot of really interesting. I don't want to call it odd, but just things that make you at least consider the possibility of it being real.
Oh, you're talking about like miracles, like
right,
according to the Catholic Church, yeah.
Right. There are quite a few of them out there, so it's like it's interesting. Does that how do you translate that to making people want to come to mass? I don't know, but it's an interesting concept. But the art is nice. The coloring is fairly, well done as far as like the way he does lighting and shading on faces is interesting to me. They're trying to make it look realistic, which is really kind of interesting because the art is so open that you really have to trust the colorist to do a lot of that.
Right.
So, it's
you have to have a colorist who's also like pretty much a painter as well. So
yeah. I mean, you can see here if I can get close. That's as close as I can get it. You can just see there's like 6 different shadings on that face.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks right. For what it, it's not. I mean, you could take this little bit off the cheek here and it wouldn't like distract any. It would be even more realistic in a way because I think that's a little bit over rendered on that particular panel, but yet it's not distracting over rendered.
Right.
Fits. And that could be a very hard thing to do when you've got very open stuff, which this penciler style was very clean and very open to do that. So let's see if I can get that. Again, the lighting is interesting because he's got the light of the keyboard, but he's also got the outside light behind him. So it's interesting that they do that. And I also like the way they did the coloring with a little bit of green skin over photo references, because those are actual photos, not illustrations, off the internet from the Miracle of Luciano or Lanciato, whatever it is. I can't read it right now. My eyes are not reading it for right.
Yeah, it's like Lanciano or something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool though.
And the fact that this kid, I mean, yes, it was tragic that he passed from leukemia at age like 15, but he was granted sainthood by the Catholic Church because of what he did. So
yeah, well, I mean, I don't think that is a wrong thing. I think it's a reasonable decision by the church to do that.
Well, yeah.
So I'm not. Now there is a second book about him.
I did not know that.
Yes. Yeah, there's a second book. There's a couple. They got a lot of books from that company. Actually, I don't know how many David worked on, but there's a lot of them. But they're like $6.99 to $7.99 a book, which in today's market's a little bit steep, I think. But who are we, right?
It's for a different market though, too. So
right. So
I mean, you're not going to find this at a comic shop. So
no. Okay. Our next book is EPITATPHS of the Abyss, number 8 for $4.99, publisher EC Comics Only Press. Various writers and artists, genres horror comedy, released February 19th, 2025. What is it about? EPITATPHS from the Abyss is an anthology series meant to invoke the sensibilities of classic EC style comics of the 50s and 60s, but with a more modernized approach from today's popular writers and artists. Each issue has multiple stories by different creative teams. I love the cover shown here, where the tattoo of the snake bite goes into his neck and then somehow crawls through the skin of the face and pops out the eye. That was cool. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with any of the stories in this issue, so it kind of pisses me off. It barely had anything to do with the intro page, which I'll show you in a minute. The stories are okay, nothing great, nothing bad. They've had much better stories in previous issues. The best story, I suppose, was the middle story, with the couple arguing over the clown painting that the guy bought, and the clowns coming out of the painting and attacking them. But again, nothing too special. Kitty speaking tonight.
Right? Yeah, she is very vocal.
Yes, and I give it 3 out of 5. Here is the book again. Really nice cover. Gorgeous cover. But the only thing it has to do with tattooing is the intro page with the gravedigger with some witchy tattoo person tattooing a spider into the woman's chest, but the spider's coming out of her mouth.
As most tattoos do. So yeah.
Right.
If you've never gotten a tattoo, that actually happens. So yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and she's chained to the thing to sit there. So it's like yeah. Now again, the first story, Yellow Smoke. There's different things she wants to do. She doesn't like the house, and she knows there's something that lives in the house with them that they don't want. So she decides she's going to burn the whole place down. And ultimately, when everybody goes, "What the heck were you doing? Why were you burning it down? You're crazy." The entity that was inside grabs her feet and drags her back into the fire. And they all just watch. Honking is the name of the clown story. Like I said, couple goes out there to get one of those cheap clown paintings, bring it home. All the clowns come out of the painting and attack them.
See, that's the problem I have with these modern, with their attempts to bring back the old EC like anthology books, is that it's just a crapshoot of quality as far as art and storytelling goes.
Joey said that the art seemed pretty good for a religious comic. Yeah, it was excellent artwork. They went to Glass House, went to David Campidi, and asked for a top level type work, and we're willing to pay for it. So they got good
David
stuff.
delivers, of course.
Yeah.
But would you agree that these?
Yeah,
it's a crapshoot of quality.
Yeah. The whole thing is, if you're trying to evoke the EC look, go hire people who draw in that style.
Yeah, exactly.
And write in that style. And there are plenty of us out there in the industry that do that kind of thing. And there hasn't been a single one of them on any of those EC books. It's all
because they probably charge too much.
No. I'm talking about people that are like independent undergrounders who have never really had that kind of thing to do that kind of charge. So, you got to know, though, who's out there,
Right.
And mostly who's on these books are the same people that are already doing the horror anthologies at the other companies. And it's like, yeah, I already saw them over there. Why do I need more of their stuff?
Right.
Now, I happen to buy the EC ones because I'm like, I'd rather read EC than the ones from Boom or IDW or Archie or whatever where they're at over on those, because I just would, But, if I were like asked to, well, what would you do? I would go get people like, Randy Zimmerman and Bobby Nash and Ron Fortier and Brian K. Morris as writers for this. Artistically, Chris Kohler immediately comes to mind.
I'm a big fan of Derek Rook. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but
Yes, Derek Rook could be a good choice. I'm trying to think. Dave Slemons. I don't know if you guys know Dave's work or not, but that's the kind of thing that I would go for more so than what we're seeing here.
right.
That's all.
Very much
But
agree.
it's not bad though. I mean, this is just an average comic for today's stuff. What's out there. The cover is what really sells that book.
Exactly.
That issue.
Yep.
I just wish they'd done a story about that in the book, because that would have been cool. All right, our next book. I'll let you read it, Chris.
All right. We have Green Lantern Dark #3 from publisher DC Comics, writer Tate Brombal. Artist is Werther Del Adera. Colorist is Giovanna Nero. Lettering is Tom Napolitano. Cover artist is Werther Del Adera. Editors Andrew Marino, Andrea Shea, Ash Padilla. Genre is horror superhero. Released November 2024 through present. It's an ongoing series. What it's about: when young Lunette gets snatched away in the night by the monster that haunts New Camelot, Green Lantern has no choice but to venture into the belly of the beast, a nightmarish castle with untold horrors within. But her green flame draws the eye of someone who watches intently from the dark. Perhaps the castle holds more secrets than just the beasts. This has evolved into a 7-issue bi-monthly series.
It's taken a few issues, but the creative team has gelled into a solid working group on this book together. The book should be peaking as a whole next issue, just in time to have the retailers ignore it, no doubt. The colors by Giovanna Nera have really amped up and visually are carrying the book this issue instead of Deladera's line art, which, as I recall reviewing issues 1 and 2, we were not happy with because the color was too dark in those issues, and we were losing design elements in the line art as a result. Or it could be now that the action in the story is really taking place, editorial demanded a more vibrant, diverse palette. Probably a little bit of both. I'm still liking the story well enough, but I wish they would have just scheduled this book better instead of dragging it out to a bi-monthly edition for 7 issues. That means we're talking about a year's passage in real time. If this had been done correctly, could have been structured and scheduled over a 4-month period instead. Waiting between issues is making me lose interest in a way, and I suspect if I'm not really interested in keeping up with it, neither are retailers or other readers.
Joey wants to know whose cat wants attention. That would be mine.
Yeah. Which I think is a shame, because as I wrote in my review of issues 1 and 2 back in January, this story was kind of dragging in a holding pattern, and now the book is going to come out bi-monthly to boot. Will readers even still be with the series at this point, or have they already dropped it, or are they trade waiting? By the time Brumbal's really getting some action going, how much audience has the series already lost? So I gave it 3 out of 5. You gave it 3 out of 5, Chris. What do you have to say about it?
I'm really over the dark, angry, reluctant hero, which is what this is. I think the design is cool as hell, and it has like a lamplighter, like God's lamplighter, angel, feel to it, which is cool. The line art on the page and the interior art, though, it's just so scratchy and muddled. Like, a lot of times I had a hard time trying to figure out what the hell was actually going on. That's just my opinion.
Well, no, you're the professional colorist. You have a right to.
No, the colors were great. I love the colors. It's just the line art was so overbearing and so just dark and scratchy. Like, in these panels, it's fine. You can tell what's going on, but there's some panels where it's just, you have a hard time understanding what's going on.
There's a few things in here you're like, well, wait a minute, even on this stuff,
Right.
But I mean, when we start getting into the really colorful stuff like this, we start getting a palette going, it looks really vibrant, and it draws your attention correctly through the page so that you can follow it and follow the pacing better.
Right.
Whereas some of those earlier pages I just showed, you can almost lose yourself looking at the artwork. Well, where's my eye supposed to follow?
Yeah.
The pacing of the story.
Right. And that's part of the job of the line artist and the colorist, is to lead your eye so you know where to go next.
Right. So, not a bad looking book at all.
No, and these latter issues are a lot cleaner than the first issues.
Joy Joe says, with Epitaph Comics, he thinks the stories are too short. If they limit it to 2 stories an issue, maybe the stories would be better. No, I don't think so. I mean, the originals from the 50s and 60s, they had just as many titles. It's just that the talent today does not have the same skills of telling a story in that short of number of pages that people like Graham Ingalls and Jack Davis and Lee Elias in that era specialized, I guess you could say, and that was because that's what they all did, was that kind of stuff. You did 3, 4, 8 pages a month for different books. And these days, because everybody's been used to that Marvel DC 28-page motif rather, even when we did good stuff like Marvel Comics Presents, where you had multiple stories, you saw even back then in the 90s that a lot of the artists were not able to track a full 6 to 8 page story correctly. The writers couldn't track it either because they're all wanting to write these Epicurean novels instead of writing a story. And so I think that's where a lot of the problem comes in with that, is you've got to find people who know how to do storytelling. That's why I started naming some of the people that are old guard, who did independent comics, who did pulp noir fiction type stuff, but are familiar with that brand enough to know, okay, that's how this is supposed to be done, instead of hiring these younger people who are trying to modernize something instead of doing it what I would say is the proper way.
Right. And would you agree that a lot of the old guard artists, like the old guard artists, knew how to tell a story in such a short format because a lot of them also worked on strips? They did a lot of strip work. Whereas modern artists, they're born and raised on the 28 page,
Right. Yeah, there's possibly that. A lot of them also worked in animation, so you had to learn how to do storyboarding differently too.
Right.
Whereas today's storyboarding is done a lot more different than what they did back in the days of the Fleischer Studios and early Walt Disney Studios. As David can tell you, it depends on how many assets you're given, what you can do.
Right.
And what we mean by assets, for those who are watching and don't understand what we're talking about character designs, we're talking about background designs, we're talking about all the different features of an element, visual design. How does that all work, and how much, if I give you a certain type of background design, how do we make this cohesive to the figure design? How do we make this cohesive in terms of panning the camera for motion? How do we make this consistent on a thing? So there's that as well.
Right.
And yeah, like you said, a lot of them were doing comic strips as well back then. But only certain ones, not all of them did that.
and people don't understand. Some people might not realize that when comic books first started out, it was literally a collection
Mm-hmm.
of like Sunday
Multiple-
morning paper strips. That's what it was.
Right. Yep. So there is that. So anyway, we gave both Chris and I gave that one a 3. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one because we got quite a bit left here, I think. The Hard Switch by Avery Hill Publishing for $14.99, trade paperback edition. Writer, artist, letterer Owen D. Pomeroy. Genre is science fiction. This edition was released in November 2024. The hardcover release was in 2023. It's a Teen Plus rating. What is it about? Ada, Heike, and Malik are on a mission. One last mission before everything, everywhere shuts down. They're raiding old abandoned spaceships and wrecks for the sometimes expensive parts, but mostly looking for a certain element of fuel that is what everybody uses to go through hyperspace and interstellar travel. And they make just enough money to get by, but living their nomadic, exploring life isn't sustainable when they and everyone else cannot afford that unique fuel anymore. The time is coming when the mineral that makes intersystem jumps possible runs out. And when it does, the scattered inhabitants of the vast galaxy will be stuck wherever they're at. Everything will be different unless the discovery in the latest wreck that Ada, Heike, and Malik are scavenging can unlock a whole new kind of interstellar transit. The crew isn't just fighting to survive themselves, but to save the whole galaxy against the chosen few who can afford the next way of travel. What did I think? Take a dash of Mobius, a pinch of Hergé, some Bradbury with just a hint of Belgian science fiction author J.H. Rosny Ain's 1910 novel, La Mort de la Torre, also known as The Death of the Earth. Make Joss Whedon wish he had a fucking clue with Firefly. Mix that up and kick it out in 100 pages, and this is the book you come up with. Pomeroy deftly mixes the background, natural world, and technological designs of Mobius with the humanoid physical character designs of Hergé, and it looks absolutely brilliant, marrying two already legendary artist styles into a synergetic style. And I'm basically slapping my head like a V8 going, damn it, why didn't I think of that? It's also a smartly written SF story that treats its science reasonably well and proffers up questions on both the social and existential levels. And you didn't see what I did, so I'm going to do it again. Damn it! Why did I think of that? This guy's always has a skilled eye for drawing backgrounds and architectural stuff. If you look at his other books like British Ice and Victory Point, and I recommend that you do check those books. But by leaning hard into the Mobius influence, I feel like he took a major step up in his art comparatively. The story itself has a multi-layered context that allows readers multiple readings to discover different levels of themes and concepts. There's human alien trafficking going on, everything that implies. There's a societal gas between different races and levels of socioeconomic status, and how this ragtag trio of a crew set out to do something that could reveal and force real change in both political and socioeconomics of the entire galaxy. Imagine if someone was to find a way to erase the need for fossil fuel use on Earth, and how that would completely change our economic bases and infrastructures of our planet, especially if that new fuel was openly available and couldn't necessarily be collected and monetized by a select few. That would be completely, life-changing for all of us if that happened. And while this is a standalone story, the ending is open-ended enough so that Pomeroy can revisit this universe, which is just, really good. I sincerely hope that he does revisit it as well. I give it a 4.5 stars. Let's take a quick look at some of the art.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You can see the backgrounds are just enough of Mobius, but the figure work is like Hergé.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's
I have
doing
to say I'm not a fan of those word bubbles, but
yeah, that is the one thing that if I had to say that there's a flaw to it, which is kind of why I kind of got the 4.5. It's the dialogue and the word. It's the fonts of the word bubbles. But other than that, it's just brilliant type stuff. And then they're coming up on a crash scene. There's their little scavenger ship, and they're trying to get onto this other thing and get what they can off of this big thing that's crashed into the caverns, shall we say. And then here we go again. This has a little bit of the anime influence, manga influence as well, but it's still got that European flair to everything.
Right. And that's the great thing about European comics is they're so the story is so complex. Or we're going to explore the socioeconomic ideology of the future through the lens of blah blah blah. And in American comics, it's let's punch bad guy.
Yeah.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why there's such a cultural shift in modern comics towards manga, is because they're not all about let's just punch the bad guy. There are some that are just that as well. I mean, look at Dragon Ball Z. It's just let's punch each other.
Yeah. It'd take 7 issues to do it.
Yes. Ooh.
Right? Oh my God, his power level 6,000. Yeah.
But anyway,
Goku takes 7 days to get a spirit bomb going.
Geez. Yeah. Imagine this imagine watching a wrestling program, and this is like Kenny Omega and these other guys who love that kind of stuff. It's like that's what we do, and when we do it in the ring, yeah, but at least you do it in like 10 minutes, not 6 years.
Right.
Can you imagine Kenny Omega?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's funny, but anyway, just really cool stuff here. I recommend this one really highly. Okay, this is yours, Chris.
All right, we have a Jumpscare, number 1 of 4. Publisher is Dark Horse Comics. Writer is Cullen Bunn. Art is Danny Luckert. Lettering, Jim Campbell, Joshua Reed. The cover says Campbell. The solicits say Campbell, but the credits inside say Reed. So who knows? Editor is Daniel Chabon. Chuck Howat-Leese. Foster R. Cubans. Genre is horror, superhero, thriller. Released February 26, 2025. What this is about. In a world rife with crime, horror, and bloodshed, Jumpscare is the hero we deserve. Strong, fast, violent, and able to conjure any weapon from a horror movie she's seen, and she's seen a lot. Jumpscare hacks her way through ne'er-do-wells and monsters alike. Not only is she the bloodiest hero of Empire City, she is the most popular. But Allie is a teenage girl who loves horror movies, loves them so much that her church-going family worries about her, and her friends usually find other things to do. One evening, after watching I Spit on the Evil Clown's Garden, Part 21, at the local theater, the walk home brings her to the attention of a group of local thugs with nothing but sinister intentions. Allie runs and ends up with nowhere to go but down the dark, scary alley that she knows better than to run down. There she encounters a glowing remnant of an elder god who screams and bathes her in an otherworldly light, forever changing her physically and mentally. She now possesses enhanced reflexes and strength. She can also now summon any weapon that she's seen in a horror movie. Quickly and effortlessly dispatching the thugs, she then begins her new life as the occult horror hero Jumpscare. But when she learns her estranged sister has been abducted, will her newfound powers be enough to save her sibling, and at what cost?
Go ahead, Chris.
I love this book. This book is just pure, unadulterated fun. Allie relishes her newfound powers and has fun dispatching the Lovecraftian monsters that inhabit her city. The art by Luckert is fantastic, and the book couldn't be any more well written, in my opinion. The conflict with her wealthy, powerful church-going parents is intriguing, and also has a comedic element as well. Really looking forward to issue 2, and it is highly recommended. This is a love letter to horror and horror fans.
Yes. To be honest, I was kind of reluctant to get this book initially. I'm getting bored with the writer Cullen Bunn overall, in part because he's just so overused and overexposed in general in the market. There are months where he's got as many as 20 different titles out from 12 different publishers. And it's just like, yeah, and that's not including digital exclusive or crowdfunded books. That's just the mainstream stuff. So I kind of get like, yeah, I've seen enough of you. I don't need another Bunn title. But the cover by Luckert, what sold me on the book. And I knew this would be in Chris's wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
And I was like, this is Chris's book. This is his thing. So I recommended that you went and got it, and you went and got it, and you're like, yeah. The other thing I'm not thrilled about this is that this ties into another comic series by these two gentlemen called Beyond Mortal, which is a whole universe thing, I guess, that this is part of. It came out in 2024, and I personally don't want to have to get that series. So I'm kind of hoping that this is more of a standalone series and not tied too much into that grouping. So I'm being a little bit cautious about things there, and I'm a little bit suspecting that I already know what the overall story arc of this miniseries is going to be. And so I'm like, if I know what he's going to do before he does it, am I going to be like bored with the book? So that's where my reluctance is still there for a high score. Chris, what do you think is going on with the sister right now after one issue?
I'm not really sure. I honestly, I don't know. What do you think?
I think the parents paid for whoever's got her to take her because they want to kill the unwanted daughter who's got the horror things. Because remember, her father started trash talking her on TV.
Right.
Earlier in the series.
Yeah.
And they're like these, like, what are those really rich evangelistic type people? That's what they are.
Yeah.
So they're like televangelists. So it's like, okay, somehow they got power, enough money to go hire a hit crew to go after her, more or less.
Right? And, like, your parents just want to talk to you.
Yeah, we are here to kill you. Really. Stop. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it just kind of, it's like, what? You couldn't like leave a message and say, hey, we need you to come home. Your sister's missing. We need your help.
Yeah, apparently texting isn't a thing.
Yeah. No, we have to send like a whole 8-man Men in Black crew to come get you, with guns and shit. It's like, okay, whatever. But that's typical though for the type of story genre he's writing. So I'm not knocking the writer on that.
Right.
I just, like I said, I'm afraid that it's just going to be obvious that this is a whole setup to get her so that they can get rid of her. That's what I'm afraid it's going to be. And if it turns into that, I'm going to be bored. But other than that, we'll see. Let's hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to the coming issues. So
yeah, so you gave it a 5. I gave it a 3.5. So, and that doesn't mean I didn't like the book. It's certainly better than average for what's on the market these days. But I'm just hoping for a little bit more.
And you have that dang editor's eye, so
yeah. And this is some of the interior art.
Well, I gotta step out 1 second. I gotta let the dogs out.
Yep, no problem.
Come on, guys.
Yep. Alrighty. Let's see what I can do here.
Come on, guys.
Nope, can't do that. Well, he goes and lets dogs out. What do you think of what you saw so far, John?
I would say that particular book we just read probably wouldn't be for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you about Cullen Bunn. It's like I mean, and my thing is like, you know, when you see a guy that you know that's doing that much stuff, and it's like how much attention can he possibly be paying to quality? I mean, surely at some point there's got to be
A drop off.
Diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, that's not saying he doesn't have talent. That's not saying that we want him gone from the business or anything like that. We want him here. He's a good writer. But we always want the A game as much as we can get the A game out of our creators.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing 15 to 20 books a month, you can't possibly be doing your A game every single book. You just can't. There's not enough hours in the day and coordinate with all your other collaborators to do it. You're going to get a little bit lesser quality stuff. And where do you
find the time to do that much stuff? Or like how do you schedule your days or whatever?
Yeah. Well, part of it is how many stories does he have sitting around in notebooks and other things for years on end before he broke in?
Yeah, as writers tend to have.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that. But even then, you know, it's like, okay, let me pull this story I had like 15 years ago. Yeah, but is it still? I mean, you might have liked it when you wrote it 15 years ago. Does it still hold up now? You know? But you know, it is what it is. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the artwork. If I can get this thing to do what it's supposed to. There we go. You know, I like the art again by Luckert. I really liked the opening of the chest, and you see the Lovecraftian eyes and the insects and everything. It's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, very cool. And it's very reminiscent of like the horror anime too.
Mm-hmm. Uzumaki and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then here she comes. I've got a hook in one hand. I got a butcher's hatchet in the other. I'm pink and green, and I got a blue eye and a red eye. Like I got 3D vision. I'm Jumpscare.
Yeah, I could pour over this art for like hours.
Yeah. You know, and it just, you know, it's really nice stuff, you know. I'd like to see what this stuff looked like in black and white too.
Yeah.
I like his use of duo shade spot in different things. You can tell he's actually trying to do it, not just digitally, but I mean, there's a little split right here. Do you guys see my arrow?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can see that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's like a little split where it's like, did he do that with the old school traditional duo shade? Because it looks like he did. It's not perfectly lined up like it would be with a computer.
Yeah, you got to wonder.
You know, and if he did that old school, that's like, damn. It's so hard to find that stuff to even use it, let alone do it well. So I'm liking that. And, you know, some of the comments are a little bit funny. She's talking sort of a little bit like a wrestler.
Yeah, she's very much in the line of like smart mouth, Spider-Man, Deadpool, that type of.
Yeah.
But and I also love that the art, the colors are not over rendered. They
Mhm.
fit perfectly with the art.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this to come down. It won't. Can you guys see the right eye is blue and the left eye is red?
Yeah,
Yes.
I can see that. Yeah,
Okay.
and I
That's
love that they also show what movie the weapon is from.
right. Even though they're totally fictional movies on top of
Yeah,
it, as far as I
but
know.
the
I mean,
titles are hilarious.
yeah. Uh, but it's like, but just the point of it that that blue and red eye, and you think the 3D glasses. This it's like, does she actually see that like in 3D
Yeah,
realistically?
yeah,
It's like what or is that just like something she wears, or just like contact lenses, like Rey Mysterio wears or something? You kind of wonder, because she's got weird powers. Like that would be cool to kind of see legitimate 3D motion of an opponent, you know?
and yeah, I think that's kind of like a throwback to the old, um, you know, the old 3D they did back in the old horror
Right,
movies.
right. The 3D glasses. That's what
Yeah,
that is. That's a
yeah,
callback to that. But I'm
yep,
saying she's got all these weird powers. What if that was one of her powers?
yeah. That would be very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just a lot of cool stuff on that. So, and then once she's done hacking up everything, oh, we love you. We want pictures. Give me a selfie.
Yeah, got to do the obligatory selfie.
All right, Chris,
Alrighty,
you
we
did
have
this.
we have Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Number one, publishers Marvel Comics. Writer is again Cullen Bunn.
Oh,
Uh,
imagine that.
yeah, artist is Dalibor Talajic. Colorist is Lee Lobridge. Letterer Joe Sabino. Cover artist Care Andrews. Editor Jordan White.
All right.
Genre is superhero action adventure. Released August 2012. What this is about. What if everything you thought was funny about Deadpool was just actually disturbing?
You
What if
mean
he
it's not?
decided, right? What if he decided to kill everyone and everything that makes up the Marvel Universe? What if he pulled it off? Would that be fun for you? The Merc of the Mouse takes a turn for the twisted in a weekly horror comic like no other.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Ugh, what a freaking mess this was. I mean, there is so much trying to be packed into this book that it ends up being a total disaster. The story's barely coherent. The kills, which I'm sure the writer thought were brilliant and were just silly, not thought out and mostly annoying, and in no way, shape, or form could actually happen the way that they did. For example, there's a situation there where uh, Deadpool uses pin particles to make Mjolnir grow giant, thus pinning down and crushing Thor. Thor has complete control over Mjolnir, no matter what size it is, thus growing it with pin particles would make no difference to him, and it certainly wouldn't pin him down and crush him. And it has been shown exhaustively that Bruce Banner can't die because the Hulk will always come out and prevent the death. Thus, having the Hulk rip Deadpool to shreds, then turning into Banner and having him fall asleep just so Wade could kill him is ridiculous and lazy writing. The rest of the story and the kills get no better, so I would skip this one if you haven't read it already.
Now some of this stuff is actually not in issue one; it was in issue 2. So you read all the issues, right? Online.
No, I have the book.
You must have a whole thing, like a trade collection or something. Because
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
okay, because when I went to read this, like some of the stories you were explaining, like this isn't an issue 1. When I went to read it online, I had to find it. Oh no, this is an issue 2 and issue 3. Okay, so okay, all right, no problem. I just wanted to get that clarified. Because as you can see, did we read the same book? But like I said, I read was issue 1. Then I realized that you read the whole mini, which now I understand you had a trade, so that makes a difference. It's hard to believe that this was written by the same writer that this writer wrote this juvenile fanfic crap, then turns around and writes Jumpscare, even though there's over a decade in between, and he's presumably gotten better as a writer over the years. There are many similarities between Deadpool and Jumpscare, though, when you compare them side by side.
Right.
But it's like Jumpscare is more... Jumpscare's funny. Deadpool is just... bleh.
Yeah, it tries to be funny, but it's not.
Yeah. Tajalek's art is meh. I liked how I drew Uatu the Watcher, and I'll show you that in a minute, but not much else. This cover by Kari Andrews looks lame for what I know the level of quality of work that Kari is capable of producing. This looks like a half-assed joke of a book at best. And this is the kind of book that is exactly why I prefer not to read Marvel titles, and I've felt that way for going on nearly 35 years now. We both gave it 2 stars, and that's just being nice to Logic's trying to do a decent art.
Right. Yeah, I was not impressed with the art as well. So
yeah, so but yeah, we were not into this one at all. Here's some of the art by Dalibor Talogic with colors by Lee Lelridge. And yes, there's something kind of cool here when you watch Reed's face kind of just melt away in there as he's dying. That is kind of neat in a way. I'm not saying it's not. Sue's facial expressions aren't too bad. She looks a little bit manly in my opinion, but whatever.
It is what it is.
Yeah. She could have had a little bit. I don't know. It's hard for me to explain it. Her face just looks a little. Her nose looks just a little bit too smashed in some of the panels.
Right.
And then in other panels, it looks really feminine. So it's like you just kind of
Yep. Go on.
You had to go get the dogs and bring them back in. But
Get in here.
Whoop, you hear him now. And then here's Deadpool, who's going to kill Johnny Storm. And he's like, yeah, you gave me 3rd-degree burns to prove it, but I'm still here, and I killed you. And then some of the blood gets on Sue, and she's like, oh, hello there, Peekaboo. Red's definitely your color. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to step away and let the dogs in.
Yep. Now, I did like her popping his head, and then, he's supposed to be dead, right?
Yeah, that was a creative use of her powers.
Yeah, well, this is something that she's been able to do before. They've talked about it before. It's not like it's the first time we've seen that kind of thing.
Right.
But it's like, well, I'm back already. I healed. My head came back. I don't buy into that. Yes, you have a healing factor. But what controls your healing factor in a sort is your brain. Even though it's a sub-compact type thing, if the brain is gone, there's nothing to tell the body to regenerate.
Right. Yeah, they made Wade stupidly overpowered.
Yeah.
Just to tell the story.
Yeah. So anyway, Uatu, like I said, I like the way Uatu is actually drawn here. He kills Uatu, chops his head off. I wouldn't mind seeing him draw What If with this design, as the host of Uatu. I think that looks nice. But overall, I'm just not feeling it, I don't know, Chris, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. Again, he's gonna kill Uatu with a damn katana. a celestial, you know, like basically God gonna kill him with a katana? No, don't think so. They just they jumped the shark so hard on this just to be able to tell the story that it just takes you completely out of it.
I never took Deadpool comics seriously for years. I've never taken Deadpool seriously from the start. I mean, I've never cared for that character. But what is the appeal of this character? Does anybody know?
If he's done well, it's entertaining.
Okay, I don't know. I've never really. I guess I've never seen what I would be considered done well. I guess so. That's okay, you know.
Well, like, you know, the movies. I think
the movies wrong.
I think that's incredibly well done. So
yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much our show as far as our reviews go. Now, for those who are watching and our Facebook group, you know that we did a movie poll to see which film we were going to review this week. And on Monday, I revealed that we had a tie and I had to do a randomizer on screen. So this is what got selected for tomorrow. It is Dr. Terror's House of Horrors from 1963 with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Because you demanded it. Oh, okay, a few of you voted for it. But what will our review crew think? Well, you'll have to tune in and find out tomorrow at 8 p.m. And it's going to be an interesting little thing. And, you know, I wonder, did the people who came up with He-Man and Masters Universe like this film? Because isn't that Skeletor?
Yeah, pretty much. But this does have, I mean, it's got industry legends, you know, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. And of course, Roy Castle is famous in the horror industry. I believe Roy Castle is the one who came up with the Tingler movie where they put the buzzers underneath
I know
seats. Yeah. So I believe he's the one who came up with that. So yeah, they're all legends in the industry. So
okay. You want to reach us? Me at Facebook is Lewis.BrightRaven. At the Muskrat channel is at LewisBrightRave2. DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven. You can always, as always, we'd like you to like, share, and subscribe at Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven on YouTube. Email quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com. Found an answer there. Try LewisBrightRaven@yahoo.com. Or if you need to talk to John, it's grayfigaro@hotmail.com. Or the Scarlet Sumo who doesn't wear red. Christopher M. Hall, 1973@gmail.com. We'll do our best to answer questions, or if you have suggestions on things you'd like us to try and find and do reviews on. In fact, Joey, you actually mentioned a book to us, I think it was last week, that I know none of us heard of it before. So next time you see me at the store, if you've got copies of it at the store in stock, let me put them out to me, okay? So we appreciate that. Alrighty, I think that's all for tonight. So we'll see you next time. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.
nevermore.